Okay, Assalamualaikum and selamat pagi semua. So today's lecture kita akan sambung from chapter number 1, okay, which is to discuss about how you should write your problem statement. So we'll begin from we will start using the textbook, okay, chapter number 4 in your textbook, and I will also discuss on next class on Wednesday. Saya akan tambah sikit, okay, on how you actually structure your problem statement, and we will continue also on how you should write your research questions and research objective. Okay, but for today's video, kita akan gunakan your textbook. Okay, what are the main content that should be that you should have in your problem statement? So as per your textbook, okay, why is it important to have a problem statement? Okay, in a thesis, in a journal article, okay, as what I've mentioned before, you cannot find a separate problem statement section, but you need to determine, okay, along the way, along the within the introduction chapter, okay, somewhere at the end of the introduction chapter, okay, you should find the part where the authors will explain, okay, what are the issues concerned, okay, what before the authors mention about the motivation of the study, okay, what are the objectives set out to do, what are the objectives. So just before the objective, I think the paragraph before that, okay, one or two paragraph before the objective of the thesis of the article. So that is where the author will try to establish the problems or the research problem. Okay, but for a thesis, okay, a conventional thesis yang biasa lah, a normal thesis will have a problem statement section, okay, after the background of the study or introduction. So in the previous lecture, I've mentioned how you should structure your background, the introduction. You start from general to specific. You give enough statistics, data, relevant information. Maybe you cite from surat khabar. Okay, and also you establish the hubungan, the relationship between the variables, and also not to mention and not to forget, okay, you need to refer, you need to cite, okay, CITE, cite means you rujuk lah, you need to mention, okay, according to X, Mr. Y, according to John, okay, find recent articles, okay, articles yang terkini, 2, 3 ataupun 3, 4 articles relevant to the issue of your thesis. Okay, why you want to refer to this article, why you want to mention this article in the introduction, as an orang kata apa, sumber tambahan lah, bukti tambahan, okay, to justify or to strengthen the argument that the issue that you are looking at is very important. Okay, ada orang dah buat kajian and they find evidence menunjukkan bahawa ada kesan antara hubungan variable A dengan variable B misalnya, okay, ataupun kesan negatif, kesan positif antara di kalangan isu variables yang kamu kaji tu. Okay, so this is where you want to provide as much information as possible in the introduction. Okay, for undergraduate level, I think your chapter 1 before the problem statement, maknanya the introduction part, okay, before you start writing your problem statement, I will expect not more than 10 muka surat, itu dah panjang lah. Okay, your background, your introduction should be around 6 pages, 5 to 8 pages long. Okay, don't write too long lah, nanti maknanya the more you write, lagi banyak merapu lah, meaning that you're gonna write just simply write and write, but dia berpusing-pusing. So just provide relevant information, relevant definition, relevant statistics, okay, directly related to the issue that you are investigating. Okay, so in terms of how do you determine the problem area? Okay, of course, at your level for this semester, okay, my instruction I think is very clear. Okay, find a topic that you can boleh jumpa lah, maknanya search, kamu pilih tajuk based on what you can find from sumber-sumber yang lepas. Okay, do a topic that you can just simply ulang balik lah, okay, repeat, just replicate, okay, ulang semula, tiru balik lah apa yang the previous thesis or journal that you can find on economic issue, especially the topic that is done on using primary data based on questionnaire. So as long as you can find economic topics yang dah ada sumber-sumber borang soal sidiknya, okay, clear ada contoh economic theory. So just do that again. But of course, you need to collect a new set of data, okay, based on new respondents from the Google form that you will send out to your friends, okay, to fill up the questionnaires. So based on that, that would be enough for this, for your training lah, untuk latihan untuk this particular semester, okay. But when it comes to doing your own study, okay, your own research, okay, how do you determine the problem area or the research problem? So basically, it's usually based on existing issue yang sedia ada, okay, that need to be, okay, isu-isu yang semasa lah. For example, now, okay, the issue of unemployment, okay, masalah kalau when you talk about economic issues lah, the common macroeconomic issue, unemployment, inflation, cost of living, kemiskinan, poverty, so that need to be addressed, okay, or areas the person want to improve. So maybe depending on the scope lah, okay, kalau dalam bidang ekonomi ni usually, okay, maybe in term of teknik dalam, okay, for example, if we're talking about agribusiness dalam bidang agriculture for example, so ada teknik-teknik that can be used to improve the teknik nak meningkatkan hasil tanaman, okay, how do you improve the efficiency, okay, kecekapan para petani, okay, the combination of tanah, buruh, modal, usahawan dan sebagainya, okay, so you want to find how you can actually improve on the production side, okay, or maybe you are interested on the theoretical perspective, okay, you are doing a study to come up with a new theory or to test the theory. But I think for most of the studies out there, I think ini yang paling common lah, which is researcher, okay, questions a basic research question, a basic researcher wants to answer empirically. Empirically means based on your data collection, whether primary data or secondary data. Secondary means data collected from internet, okay, from economic reports, okay, that you run your regression, OLS and whatnot, or based on the questionnaire that what you will be doing this semester, okay, you send out your Google form, okay, and then you apply relevant statistic techniques, t-test, ANOVA, okay, and whatever test that is relevant, and you find the results. So the area that you want to investigate, okay, what are the issues, okay, dalam konteks based on what you want to test lah. And so sometimes you can work in reverse. You got all the techniques, okay, dah tahu dah apa method yang kamu nak buat, macam mana kamu nak solve how to answer the research, apa isu, macam mana kamu nak jawab, how do you answer the problem, okay, and then from there you determine lah, okay, apa problem dia based on the question that you want to answer, okay. So this one I think to identify the problem area, okay, either you based on issue yang sedia ada, okay, common macro issue or common macroeconomic issue, okay, and then or you want to improve the status quo, for example, how you improve the livelihood orang B40 kepada M40, for example, to improve the income level of the B40 kepada M40, M40 kepada T20, okay, or you want to plan for the future. For example, now people are moving towards cleaner energy, okay, so how do you determine what are the isu-isu yang sedia ada ni yang lebih relevan kepada what will happen in the future. But I think this one kamu tak payah pening-pening sangat lah. I think this one is more at the higher level punya research. Okay, but at your level for an undergraduate, okay, the thing that I want you to actually focus on will be on this part here. Okay, first, of course, what is the definition of a problem statement? You can find this definition, different definition in other textbook, but generally, okay, is based on a statement of the question or issue that is to be investigated yang kamu nak kaji. with the goal of finding an answer or a solution. So that is basically what a problem statement is all about. It is a statement, satu bentuk penyataan. That's why we call it penyataan masalah. Okay, in Malay, okay, penyataan masalah. It's a statement that you write, okay, which give you and clear, which give the reader lah dalam kes ni, saya lah sebagai your penyelia, your lecturer. Okay, what are the issue that you want to kaji? Okay, kenapa kamu nak kaji benda tu? Okay, with the goal of finding an answer. So the statement that you write, okay, is referring to the issue that you want to study. For example, the use of cashless app, okay, payment lah dalam business, for example, or the impact of inflation on the cost of living. So that is the issue that you want to study, the impact of inflation. Okay, kesan kenaikan harga barang kepada apa tu, ialah kepada kos pembelajaran pelajar, okay, pelajar di UM, okay. So that is the issue. So you are trying to find the impact, okay, bagaimana kesan mungkin dalam bentuk kualiti kehidupan, kepada dalam bentuk jumlah apa di bajet harian untuk membeli makanan dan minuman, okay, macam-macam lah. Itu that one is based on the scope or the research question lah, okay, and also the questionnaire that you want to send to the respondent. Okay, but the statement should be clearly written so that, you know, in that few sentences, you know already what are the issue and what are the solution ataupun answer to the problem. What do you expect to get from the study? Okay, and the three elements, especially, I mean, in any research problem, these are the three elements that need to be fulfilled lah sebaik mungkin. Okay, especially the first one. I think number one is in terms of, this is basically mainly due to the writing skill, teknik penulisan. And nowadays you got quillboard, okay, or whatever paraphrasing tool, okay, you can use, or you can use to actually improvise on your writing part lah, okay. But it must be written clearly, okay, dengan especially you want to justify its importance. Okay, importance mean the problem statement, whatever that you write, however or whatever that you want to write, okay, you must be able to strengthen, you must be able to show that the issue that you want to investigate is important. Okay, that's why in the background of the study, in the introduction chapter, okay, I mentioned this in the previous lecture. This is where you need to provide enough statistics, okay, figures. Okay, you write, I mean, you refer to relevant articles. Okay, you establish the relationship between the variables. So the reason for mentioning, for putting all this information in the background is you want to show that the issue that you want to investigate is important. Okay, for example, di zaman COVID mula-mula start dulu, okay, 2020, 2021. So people are so worried about the impact of COVID on the economy. Okay, so in the background, usually papers related to COVID, okay, people will give statistics about jumlah kematian and then the lockdown period and the impact of the lockdown on the economy, on the supply chain, banyak kedai tutup, production has to stop and whatnot lah. Okay, and then because those information, those statistics that you mentioned in the background will give a lot of evidence that the impact of COVID-19 too is very, very big lah. Okay, even until today. Okay, so when you have provided enough statistics, okay, enough information, okay, whether from surat khabar or recent articles, okay, based on economic theory in the background. So when you write your problem statement, which I mentioned shouldn't be no more than 2 pages long. Okay, in one of the in the first few paragraph, for example, this is where you want to go straight to the point, meaning that you can repeat some of the important points part in your introduction, just to, you know, menguatkan balik that the issue that you are investigating is very important. Okay, and then also somewhere in the problem statement, you must also the way you write will indicate how you want to solve the problem. For example, what are the cara lah kamu nak propose, okay, nak mengatasi masalah tu. Okay. And then also, somewhere also in the problem statement, you need to mention about the scope and the objective lah. For example, if the study is focusing on UUM student, so it should be mentioned, okay, dalam your background, dalam your problem statement tu, okay, that, for example, you are talking about the impact of rising prices, okay, inflation on the apa tu, uh, okay, dalam konteks pelajar UM tu, kesan kepada spending lah, okay, kepada pelajar UM. So you need to mention about the scope will be focusing on UM, okay, and the objective is to look at how UM student manage lah, okay, diorang punya spending tu, how they allocate their money, okay, on food, on lain-lain lah, keperluan harian dan sebagainya, buku dan sebagainya. Okay, so somewhere in the problem statement, this must be mentioned as well lah, as sebaik mungkin. Okay, but I want to highlight the number one here lah, because if you are able to write to justify that the problem that you are investigating is very important, okay, very important in terms of why you actually need to investigate the problem. Okay, so basically if you're able to write that, okay, I think around like 30-40% of the problem statement punya matlamat tu telah pun tercapai. Meaning, you are able to actually fulfill the first 1/3 daripada problem statement tu is already achieved lah, provided that you can write that part clearly. Okay, so and then a good problem statement should contain, these three lah, according to this textbook. Okay, the authors, mention these three. But of course, if you find other textbook, maybe they have, other, because there is no specific, because this is actually based on the experience of the authors. But this is a general guideline. Number one should be relevant. Relevant means you want to do a topic or to do a study which is currently trending lah, dalam bahasa sekarang, what we call trending. So you want to do an issue that is currently become, of focus. Okay, you do not want to do a topic that was popular maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but now becoming less and less relevant. Okay, for example, the impact of PKP, the lockdown. Okay, that was very relevant the first 2 years of COVID-19. Okay, but now if we talk about the lockdown period, nobody talks about lockdown. Okay, except a country like China, for example, who is still practicing lockdown. But for many parts of the world, okay, there is no more orang kata lockdown. Okay, people cannot curfew, tak boleh keluar rumah dan sebagainya. So you want to study if you want to look at the impact of lockdown, okay, now maybe less interesting lah, because people have gone back to the normal routine, okay, except maybe wearing mask. But so relevant is something very important that you need to look lah. Maknanya cari topik yang terkini. Okay, feasible means it can be achieved within the time frame. Especially you are now doing this assignment within the next 8 weeks also. Okay, so you want a topic that can be completed. So that's why I think I mentioned this many times. Okay, so choose a topic that you can find enough evidence lah, enough resources. Okay, especially you can find 1 or 2 thesis or journals that you can simply replicate, ulang balik semula, and that journal has already have a complete set of questionnaire that you can use. Most of them, maybe kamu nak tambah bit here, bit there, is okay, but majority of the questions are relevant to your thesis, so that you don't need to spend too much time preparing the questionnaire, because preparing questionnaire is very daunting task. Okay, tugas yang cukup susah lah kalau nak ikutkan. So that's why I do not want you to spend time to construct your own questionnaire. So if you got a good thesis journal that you can refer to, you have a good idea what are the main questions that you want to answer in your study. So basically you are doing something very similar to what people have done before, but just focusing on different population, okay, UEM population ke, Kedah population ke, or whatever population lah that you are doing for your study. And finally, it will be interesting, because no one want to do a study that has very little interest, okay, not just to you but also to the readers lah. So you want to do a topic that is important and relevant, and at the end of the day the information that you get will be interesting as well. Okay, so this part I think I will discuss further on the next lecture, okay, which I think I've shared something similar before, the structure of a chapter 1. Okay, usually when you start with the background, you know, and then you go for the problem statement, and once you have established your problem statement, then you will mention, you will write your research questions and also research objectives. For this part, how to prepare your RQ and RO. Okay, I think what I will do is for the next lecture, I will show what are the RQ and RO for the previous semester's assignment. So even though you are basically doing for replicating, kamu ulang balik kajian yang lepas, okay, but I think for the RQ and RO, I want the RQ and RO to be quite similar lah across group, so that I can assess every group secara sama rata lah based on the statistical technique, okay, the use of t-test, correlation test or ANOVA testing, so that, you know, every group has similar objective ataupun techniques to answer your RQ and RO. So this part we will discuss on the next lecture, okay, on Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, so, and also I think I will also upload, okay, some materials okay, I will also upload some materials online, okay, in your OL, and I will discuss them, especially for this particular page here, okay. How or what do I expect, okay, your paragraph in your problem statement should contain, okay, because when I say maximum 2 pages long, so you should follow this kind of guideline, okay. I will go through them again this coming Wednesday or when coming Thursday. Okay, but for our next class, okay, this coming Thursday or Wednesday, what I want every group to prepare is a brief or just a 1-page draft of your problem statement, okay, based on the topic of that you have decided to do, okay, and then I want every group to bring lah, kalau boleh print out lah, okay, print out your problem statement, just a draft of your 1 page of your not 2 pages, just 1 page, okay, double spacing or whatsoever, okay. What do you plan, or how do you plan to write your ni lah, a draft of your problem statement, okay, so that you can bring on our next class, and we can discuss this lah, okay, because you should get going lah, because now we already entering minggu yang keempat, okay. And then next week will be your last week before you go for your mid-semester break, okay. And when we come back, okay, hopefully we can continue. By next week, I think we can begin on the literature review section, okay. And then maybe it will take 1 week or maybe 2 weeks, depending on how we should, okay, the speed of my lecture. And then after the start of the second half of the semester, okay, we can focus on the method section, especially on the SPSS tool. Okay, how do we go about to use the software, okay, to collect data, to analyze your data. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Okay, please watch my video. I will upload the video in the YouTube. Okay, and then for tomorrow, for tomorrow's class for Group A and for Group C on Tuesday, on Monday, okay, I will enter in your attendance manually. Okay, so I'll see you inshallah on Wednesday and Thursday to discuss the draft of your problem statement. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone.